Hello, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us. My name is Caroline Fairchild. I'm editor-at-large here at LinkedIn, and it's my pleasure to be joining you for this is my fifth time moderating a panel here at Milken. I wish that we were all together at the Beverly Hilton, but to see you all virtually is great. We have a great panel of tech leaders that we're going to be speaking to today about leading through the new digital reality. Speaking of leading through the new digital reality, we had some tech delays, so we are a little bit running behind, but I'm so excited for this discussion. We're going to talk about how these leaders are managing their businesses during this very challenging time. We have Jason Maynard. He's the Senior Vice President of Global Field Operations at Oracle. Kevin Jones, he's the CEO of Rackspace Technology. Asha Keddy is joining us. She's the Corporate VP at Intel. And Andrew Paradise is the founder and CEO of Skills. Great panel. We're going to jump right in because we're running a little bit behind. Jason, I want to start with you. We've been talking about this topic of the new digital reality way before the pandemic. What has actually changed?
I think a lot of the changes that have happened because of the lockdowns have pulled forward and forced companies to really kind of adapt and modify their business. And as a result, you're seeing folks buy all sorts of different technology that perhaps they were thinking about as a way to improve productivity. They're being forced to do so. So I think we've seen a rapid acceleration of things that were on the to-do list, and they're becoming reality today as the only way to operate.
And Kevin, Rackspace has had to constantly think about customer privacy and security. How has that changed during this pandemic in terms of how you're thinking about implementing new technologies?
Yeah, look, the pandemic has changed technology strategy all over the world. And when you think about privacy and security, how we kind of look at it is, you have to have a remote first mindset. And so what that means is how you treat privacy and security has to have work from home absolutely built into it. So, your networks have to be secure. You really have to have a zero trust solution mentality when designing these technology solutions. But the great news is, work is now forever changed. So companies are being forced to innovate, which is fantastic for customers and fantastic for business in general.
Yeah, a quick follow-up there. I'm sure there are many business leaders who are joining us in this conversation and are also trying to be remote first. We just had Dropbox announce that they're actually going to make their whole company remote first, only coming into the office during certain times. What does remote first really actually mean? It's a buzzword to me right now, but technically, how are you thinking about that?
Yeah, look, for us, it's a very exciting possibility because, we help customers migrate and manage workloads in the cloud. And the thing about this new normal is that collaboration has changed forever. So what we can do now with tech is actually how to help workforces figure out how to solve these remote collaboration challenges. And businesses that can do that successfully will win the war on talent. So the new normal, having hybrid work strategies, is going to help companies really get a leg up in terms of getting the best talent in the industry. We think the global talent pool will be greatly simplified by being unchained from offices. We know some in-person meetings are really effective for high design activities and a lot of transformational activities. But as we've all proven here in the pandemic, even a lot of those can be done remotely.
Asha, I want to bring you into the discussion. How is Intel thinking about this and addressing new technologies through this pandemic?
Thanks, Carolyn. Intel, as you know, is an IDM or an integrated device manufacturer. It means we have our own factories. So ours is a bit more complicated, and we have to look at it through different ways. Our factories are highly, highly automated, and they need to keep running to support not just our supply chain, but also all of those dependent on us, right? Because you need PCs in kids' hands, and you need servers to figure out the cure. So what we have done is we have a multi-layered approaches to how we deal with this pandemic. Given our factories are highly automated, we have ways where people can log in remotely and do things, or how we run the shifts. And then our sales and technology, for example, they're now completely online and they work to form technical solutions with our customers and partners. And for most of us, including myself, we have changed how we load balance from going to VPN to VPN-less and having multiple cloud. And we've managed to be all offload a lot of things like voice and data to the cloud and media. And so in a sense, we've had different approaches given our unique structure as Intel, both to our supply chain and also to our customers.
Great. Andrew, you're in the esports business. How has the pandemic impacted that sector?
Well, Skills is a B2B2C platform, similar to what Shopify does for retailers. We do the same kind of business for game makers. So our business has actually been quite resilient during COVID. In Q2 of 2020, we grew 35% quarter over quarter, as we've seen very strong demand for video games as the consumer's looking for, I'd say, both more entertainment and more flexible and cost-effective forms of entertainment. But the reality of our platform is it's been rapidly growing for years. So we continue to see, I would say, a similar trend to what we did before, if not an accelerant from COVID. And I would say, finally, the ability of our developers and players to use the platform has really not been disrupted in any way by COVID. I would say COVID is undeniably one of the largest disruptors of the global economy in many decades. But in terms of digital entertainment, I would say mobile gaming has become this very important form of comfort and entertainment during the pandemic.
As we could all use some entertainment during this time. Jason, I want to bring you back into the discussion to talk about small businesses. Oracle has a lot of small business customers. What is the path forward for them? How have they been impacted?
Yeah, thank you. It's a tricky situation for a lot of small businesses, as you might imagine. We serve thousands and thousands of small customers, and it really varies by industry. As you might imagine, retail, hospitality, travel, those type of industries are obviously in a lot of hurt right now because of the inability to open their business. Flip side is a lot of small businesses are thriving. We've seen surprisingly a huge burst of entrepreneurship. It's kind of one of the green shoots coming out of the pandemic is with some of the job losses. You've seen people start businesses. So I think it's sort of a multifaceted approach here where you want to make sure you're taking care of your small business customers that are in trouble, but at the same time, there's a platform and a foundation, I think, growing of folks who are going to take it on their own to start a business and hopefully, find a way to move forward with a new opportunity.
Absolutely. Kevin, similar question to you. How have customer needs changed during the pandemic, particularly when you think about your small business customers?
Yeah, so it's a great question. At Rackspace Technology, we've got a large number of small and medium-sized businesses. That's really a lot of the heritage of the company. And we took a very proactive approach with our customers. Similar to what Jason was saying, we really wrapped our arms around the customers, particularly customers that were having problems financially, right? We work with them, we created payment plans for them just to make sure that they could survive this time. But we also helped transform, right? We really went on the offensive and we launched new solutions, new work from home solutions with Microsoft and AWS, new remote security solutions, and then really kind of increased our sales and marketing efforts so that we could reach out to more customers and take advantage of this opportunity to help them transform into even better businesses. And as a result, Rackspace Technology, our sales and pipeline just continued to increase, and we took the company public just in early August. So, we really took a situation that was difficult, and we accelerated through it by really keeping our customers first.
And Asha, Kevin's talking a little bit about some new technologies that they've implemented to meet customer demand, but I'm curious at Intel, how has workflow had to change in order to meet customer demand right now, but also make sure that in this new remote environment, work is happening efficiently?
We adapted workflows, as I mentioned, across different areas we have, right? And so, for example, if you look at Intel and our IT, we had, after the SARS, already done workflows where we could go 50% off, remote. But that wasn't even enough for what we had to do. So we had to adjust going through multiple VPNs or having VPN load balancing. And then we moved to multi-cloud environments and offloaded a lot more data into cloud. That's what a lot of the work was. We also then had to look at critical needs that go on in the factories and what we call business continuity planning. How do we do things remotely? And so in essence, it's been a lot of learning, load balancing, and getting it done. But because of the power of how we can do compute at various endpoints, we've been managed to get it all back on track by the start of the week every time.
That is impressive. Andrew, picking up on that 35% jump, how are you doing it? How are you meeting the increased demand for esports right now? As you know, you're in a fortunate position to have your business be growing. For the leaders who are joining us in this conversation, what are you doing differently and how have you managed that?
Yeah, so the gaming industry, it's actually now larger than movies, than music, than books, with more than 2.7 billion mobile gamers monthly playing games, 10 million developers building content worldwide. Gaming is actually expected to surpass television in the next 5 years. And when you think inside of the broader gaming universe about mobile is actually your fastest growing segment. It was a $68 billion industry this past year in 2019. It's projected to surpass $150 billion by 2025. We're today a 2.6 million monthly active user business in a 2.7 billion monthly active user market. So 0.1% penetrated. So there's a lot to do and a lot to grow. And in terms of the innovation front, I would say data science has really been the secret sauce of this business and our deepest competitive moat. Historically, we've spent the last 8 years building out data science technologies and building a proprietary platform that's resulted in a patent portfolio of more than 58 issued and pending patents. And when you think about our business today, we're analyzing 1.5 billion data points a day to create a level of security around all the games run on our platform, and that platform is about building trust for our community as they compete. These algorithms, they range from Milken technologies that are built for anti-cheat and anti-fraud to things like player rating and player matching data science. But I would say above all, our brand is entirely about trust and fairness. And in the pandemic and in terms of innovation, we're only accelerating further by the day. And finally, I'd just say, in our world, luckily we were already virtual. So for our consumer and for our customer, the game maker, almost all of their businesses are virtual today. So there's really been no physical supply chain to disrupt. We're a completely paperless office, and so the transition was, we actually did it in 24 hours, a couple of weeks ahead of the broader shutdown in San Francisco.
I actually had a thought the other day. I cannot remember the last time I actually used a piece of paper, which is frightening as I'm a writer. But Jason, okay, Andrew's talking about building trust. There's so much uncertainty right now. No one knows what the workplace is going to look like in the future. People are hedging their bets. No one really knows how workflow is going to be managed. How do you implement new technologies during such an uncertain time?
It's a tricky question because I think a lot of companies, at least what we've seen, are being forced to do this just to stay operating. We've seen situations where a finance team that might have been all working in one location and collaborating are now having to use automated technology and running in the cloud, running on mobile, just to get their job done, since they can't do it in person. I think the best advice I can give, though, and this is really not just for ERP, but frankly for any software, is in this time, do it sort of bite-sized. Go with sort of incremental improvement. Don't try and boil the ocean. Solve fairly immediate pain points, and that, I think, raises the probability for success, frankly, on any project. So that's the best advice I can sort of offer up from having looked at sort of thousands of implementations over the last 6 to 12 months.
And Kevin, I'll pose the same question to you, but with a slight tilt towards collaboration and collaborative technologies right now. As people are working differently, how are you thinking about technologies that allow people to work more effectively together?
That's a great question, Caroline. When we think about collaboration, we start with our customers. How can we better reach our customers? Because we think the companies that will be successful, particularly during the pandemic, are the ones that find more creative, innovative ways to reach out and collaborate with their customers. So, our view, Caroline, is that the customer experience from here on out has to be digital first. customers now want instant access. They want instant gratification, instant communication, and they want to do it without leaving their home. So, what we tell our customers is, look, if you're not tweeting with your customers, if you're not texting, instant messaging, whatever platform you're using, if you're not doing that, then you're probably losing an opportunity. So, really, when we think about collaboration, I really, love the part about being more digital, helping our customers be more digital, and then just using the cloud to pivot to do a new business model so they can do that.
Great. Asha, when you think about open computing platforms and what they can bring to enterprises, how has that changed your workflow and what they can bring to businesses, perhaps some of the leaders that are in the stream right now?
So open computing platforms, by definition, have scale. And they allow like a broad range of uses to go on top of it. And for us, it's pretty exciting because we built hardware that's scalable, interoperable, can be used anywhere. And also we have a lot of open source and software. And the nature of open platforms means there's security and all kinds where people are cross-verifying and accessibility. And all of these kind of platforms directly and indirectly help us work with all kinds of innovations. For example, a cute one that I like to talk about is the hot pot restaurants in China with a restaurant chain called Hai Diao, and where in these you have smart dining and where you can even have aspects of putting servers, like about 10 servers a restaurant, and then several PCs, or where you can have the dining be automated because of those robots and have some networking. So with the concept of open platforms, it's not just for big customers, but also for many small customers that we then have accessible solutions and all where they can develop and customize solutions to their businesses and needs.
Andrew, speaking of customers, I'm curious, your business is growing, people are doing more esports. I'm not an esporter, so I hope I'm saying the technology terms correctly, but people are doing it more, playing more, but have their consumer behaviors changed at all? And if so, how is it different?
Yeah, I would say, look, what types of content people are consuming, the types of entertainment you're looking for at home or on the go, they're changing. But the pandemic has really accelerated that trend. I'd say esports for everyone is really here. When we talk about the gamer, we always think of this 24-year-old nerd in the parent's basement. It's not that anymore. Actually, on our platform today, over half of the demographic is women, and some of the top esports players in the world here were women. And whether it's students to professionals to parents to factory workers, we see all these different constituents in different types of games on the platform across the thousands of games that we power. And the demographics, they span from literally from the 18 to 25-year-old to literally the 66-year-old. So maybe it's just a matter of time until you try esports. But I would say gaming has been this very important form of entertainment for people throughout the pandemic. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've kind of cranked through every Netflix show I wanted to watch, and I'm hoping for more content. But the reality is, unlike television and other forms of entertainment, gaming content actually is typically built remotely, and especially mobile gaming. And so we've seen our developers actually accelerate the build of content during the pandemic. And what I'd really say is we're seeing an acceleration of a secular trend that's been going on for a decade.
Yeah, I really do need to get with it when it comes to the games. I did buy an Xbox at one point. Well, my husband did, and I played Minecraft for a couple of days, but it sounds like there's much more going on with esports. If 66-year-olds are doing it, maybe I can get into it as well.
We're proud of you.
All right, let's switch gears. Let's switch gears a little bit. We're 7 to 8 months into this pandemic. While all of you are in different businesses, all the businesses are accelerating in one way or another, and challenges are cropping up. Jason, starting with you, how has your leadership style changed? What are the biggest challenges that you're facing right now?
I think a lot of people are tired and burnt out from work from home. I'll be very blunt with it. I think it's been a productivity boost for some, but I think people do miss the everyday interaction with their colleagues. And so our biggest challenge is, frankly, how do you still maintain a vibrant culture? How do you still maintain that camaraderie? Get to see your friends at work, all those sort of intangible things that I think people enjoyed. How do you replicate that when you're stuck on video conference calls all day long? And I think that has been the greatest challenge from a leadership standpoint, is making sure that you maintain those personal connections, not just with your direct reports, but with everybody in the organization, being able to still have that feeling that they're part of something and they're not, locked away in a basement on a Zoom call for 12 hours a day or something like that, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but I think people are getting tired of it.
Yeah, I can kind of feel like that. Kevin, at the beginning of this pandemic, we at LinkedIn, we were doing these happy hours and there was, all these digital events and those kind of weighed down. And now I think there's a resurgence of them. How are you thinking about this at Rackspace in terms of employee morale and keeping everyone sane and healthy and happy?
Look, it's a great challenge for sure, right? I mean, like many companies, we've been working from home since March 9th, right? And, many, many months into this, really what we try to keep in mind are the core values of the company. So if you think about Rackspace Technology, two of our core values are agility and compassion. And agility obviously was really amped up during this pandemic, right? We had to move nearly 7,000 employees to a virtual work environment. It worked perfectly seamlessly. And compassion is really, I think, where a lot of the discussion we're having here comes into play. And one of the things that we did and we continue to try to improve is how can we take care of our rackers, employees? Right at the beginning of the pandemic, we did a lot of creative things. We implemented wellness days. So we had wellness days where the entire company took a day off, right? Not just a vacation day. So everybody could kind of decompress because we knew people were scared and had to get their lives, organized around this new normal. The other things we've done, we've encouraged shorter meetings on video conference. So, these 12, 13 meetings a day stack up and it's exhausting. So we're encouraging folks, look, make them 20-minute meetings instead of 30-minute meetings, maybe 45-minute meetings instead of 60 meetings so people can catch up on their other work and take a break. We implemented wellness challenges. So we've different parts of the world challenge each other for different wellness kind of activities. And then the other thing we try to do a lot is listen. So, we don't have all the answers, right? We want to hear from our employees and hear what's troubling them. What did they think needs to be improved? And what we heard was a lot of activity and feedback that, look, my home office isn't set up. I need work from home equipment reimbursement. I need better connectivity in some areas. And so reimbursement plans and other things together. And then the final thing I'll mention that we did early on is we sent masks to all of our employees, right, all around the world. And they weren't masks, they weren't N95 masks, they were non-surgical masks, but just making sure that Rackers we were doing everything we could, and they knew from our heart that we wanted to keep them safe. And we still want to keep them mentally and physically safe. Making sure they understood that was really quite important to our core values.
Great. Before I bring Asha back into this discussion of leadership and management, I want to remind everyone who's joining us in the stream to, if you have questions for any of these leaders, now is the time. We're all facing challenges and they have some answers, I believe. So if you have a question, please let us know in the stream right now. Asha, Intel's a big company. Tell us a little bit about how you're supporting employees during this time.
So as you know, Intel is a big company with 100,000 employees across many geos. So most leaders have to work across many geos. And it's not just the pandemic, but we also have, kids staying at home in many geos, right? And parents working and taking time off. So we've had to be very adaptable in looking at who goes on site, who goes off site, the mixes, and also leading from the heart. In essence, right? Because different solutions, different people having the conversations, not just about work, but what's going on in the life, what's going on in that particular country, what are the lockdowns, what are, the social justice and all of it. So it's been a much more integrated kind of development. And in many ways, it almost brings us closer together because we're having conversations around things beyond work. So that's one of it. The other thing that Intel has done has had huge emphasis on community and outreach. Like we've put $50 million to many efforts that include not just finding cure solutions using our computing power with global outreaches, but also online learning, supporting online learning efforts in many communities, supporting contact tracing or virtual medicine, or working with innovations to help do all of the pandemic relief work. And all of this community outreach, where we bring our technology and our innovation power to the communities, also has been an outlet for a lot of our employees to work and to do something about it, so we're a part of the solution. And the last but not least, since we also look at technologies of the future, we can all see today that we need like more reliable networks, more bandwidth and all. And I personally am the 5G exec sponsor for the company. So I've been working with a lot of partners and customers on how we can use 5G and Wi-Fi technologies to have more resilience, reliability and all in the networks that we all actually embrace.
Andrew, I think you said this, but correct me if I'm wrong. You have always been remote? Skills has never had employees in the office?
No. We were actually almost exclusively headquartered in San Francisco. So we had a 6-story building downtown before this.
Okay, I thought you said. I apologize. I thought you said something. So I thought that maybe you'd be able to answer this question best. But I'm sure you've learned a lot in this process. So how has Skills changed their operations during this time?
I think you were commenting on, so our customers in video games, as you can imagine, they play
yes.
in the virtual world, and then our developers they build virtual art. So they're all in the virtual world already. Now the rest of us have joined them, I suppose. But look, as a digital native company with literally no paper processes, I would say our employees really took well to working remotely, and it's been definitely an adaptation to from things like I'll give you an example. We used to have a game night every Thursday night where we played board games in the office, and we'd have hundreds of different every board game you can imagine, from the mundane like Monopoly to I'm sure many games that I could name that no one's ever heard of before. But we moved to instead doing online games and playing remotely. We've moved from the open office format we had. We have actually Zoom workrooms for teams, so they can join a workroom and hang out with other people while they work if they choose. We've really been thinking a lot about how to maintain the sense of community that made our company so special. But at the same time, I'd say work from home, I think it's likely to remain the new norm for us for some time to come. We're definitely most concerned with protecting our employees first and making sure that they're safe. And when we think about the next few months and the path forward, there's an advantage for us because we're now able to recruit from a wider pool of talent from more geographies. We opened Skills Canada during the pandemic. And I would say, as we're thinking about building the best virtual office we can have, we do everything from running. First, we ran weekly town halls with open format Q&A live, and now we moved to more of a bi-weekly cadence as the questions sort of died down as this thing is worn on for everyone. But I think protecting our team, getting them in a place where they can get out of these crowded cities like downtown San Francisco, to go where they're safe, comfortable, and productive is really important to us. Since our founding, we've really focused on creating a highly communicative and agile culture. We actually run agile processes on every team. If you think about agile engineering processes, we've applied that to every team in the company. And I think that's reflected in the business results. It's why we've been able to consistently double and triple our revenue every year. And I think it will continue to do so because of the way we collaborate and we work together.
Board games. I've done a lot of board games during the pandemic, so I can relate with you on that one.
All right. When you move the piece, right? For your friends when they're on Zoom.
Exactly. All right. I'm seeing some questions floating in from the stream, so I want to make sure that we get to those. But before we do, I'm going to ask everyone to get out their crystal balls in a sense. We've been discussing how the pandemic has just accelerated the new digital reality. But if you think about what I'm curious is, what's going to be different long term, thinking about how we're implementing technologies, how it's going to impact your business. If this pandemic didn't happen, we're going to get there faster, but what's going to be different? Jason, I'll start with you.
I think the biggest change is almost every business now, I believe, is thinking about, if not driving towards, a direct to customer type of model. whether it's Disney going direct with streaming or, manufacturers going direct to their consumers. I think it's changing everything. So I'm seeing more acceleration on this sort of one-to-one relationship with a brand and their customer.
All right, Kevin, what do you got over there?
Look, I think first of all, Jason's spot on with direct to customers. I think disaster recovery and business continuity is changed forever, right? We now have a new definition in many cases of a disaster, right? We used to think of disasters as fires and earthquakes and physical things. Now we know pandemics are very real disasters. So being able to manage your entire digital estate, your workforce, all your customer collaboration remotely from anywhere has got to be a part of future business continuity and planning. And then certainly, Caroline, what we're seeing in our industry is that the pandemic has really accelerated customers' journey to multi-cloud, right? So customers now more than ever, they want to save money. Cloud's great for that. Customers want to scale up and scale down quickly. Multi-cloud is perfect for that. And customers have to pivot, right? They have to pivot to new business models. They're going to survive, and the cloud is great for that. And that's, of course, right at the center of our strategy and what we're helping customers with every day.
Great. Asha, I'll take it over to you now.
I think I like to I'll just add and augment my fellow panelists' answers. I think if I look at it, even though cloud is improving, I think there will be more data to the edge and on-prem data as factories and all continue their automation. I view a future of the world where there is a lot of network resilience as a ways of doing business, including wireless networks that are reliable and also combined with AI or artificial intelligence so that the businesses and the users can be customized and personalized for their needs, whether it's like my medicine or whether it's a beer manufacturer in Portland and how they are controlling the temperature. So AI and blockchain and technologies like that for security. So that I look at a more distributed future of compute with AI, 5G, Wi-Fi, and all of these networks where we'll all be networked and we'll have the concept of things like digital twin or others and have a different way of interacting with the future.
And Andrew, other than me becoming an esports gamer, what are the long-term impacts of the pandemic going to be on your business?
Well, I think I commented a bit on the accelerating factors of interactive entertainment as opposed to static or other forms of entertainment. I think that change is there's kind of no going back. Caroline, whether it's you buying an Xbox or are you downloading some skills games, we're all adopting these new patterns in terms of how we entertain ourselves. And I'll give you an example. We as a couple, we squad up with other couples on evenings sometimes and play an online game. That's something I certainly would have been doing before the pandemic. When I think about the future of work and what it means for our business, it's going to be a very interesting path forward over these next couple of years. We've been able to just have tremendous business results remotely. We're certainly listening to our staff, really thinking a lot about what it means in terms of going back into a downtown commercial office, getting people to commute. Some of our employees were commuting 90 minutes to 2 hours a day. And I have to think there's a better way to use all that energy and time as well as think about the savings we have for the environment. I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, but I read this one article that really stuck out for me that I wanted to mention, which is just they were seeing in Italy sea life that they hadn't seen in 100 years returning to the coast because of the drop in environmental impact. And so, it's really interesting about the future of work when you think about we were so built into this mindset of we had to work in a certain way. We had to all migrate into this one central location or locations. And perhaps there are better ways. And I think you're seeing that with multiple companies committing to full virtual indefinitely. Some companies, perhaps like us, we're a little more wait and see, and we want to see how it unfolds and make sure that our staff prefers for full virtual before we say goodbye to our commercial real estate. But for now, we have some lovely commercial real estate if anyone's in the market in multiple geographies.
I don't think you're the only CEO who has that right now. All right, I'm going to go ahead and switch gears to some questions that we're getting from people who are joining us in the stream, and have a couple of you, I guess, decide, take grabs, joust over who's going to answer them. The first one is, how do we create and use technology in a way that doesn't perpetuate an insular and isolated life?
Well, I'll kick off. It's Kevin here. I mean, I think just taking a customer first mentality will always get you outside of your company, right? So, my view is, when you're, even though a lot of us are confined to the four walls of our office and our home, if you can really think about brand new ways to collaborate with your customers, like we said before, instant messaging, digital communication, transforming your business so that you can go directly to your customers more often. To me, that's the best way to kind of get outside of yourself and the company, and the best way to learn about what your customers want. And then you can adjust and transform the company based upon what the market and the customers actually want.
I'm actually going to change my mind. Only one person can answer each question because there's like lots coming in right now. So only one person per question. The next one is, this is a good one actually for Andrew. How can businesses translate the community building of esports as a model for keeping their workforces connected personally with one another?
So I actually think video game tournaments are an amazing way to engage an audience and a community. There's an initiative I'd love to tell you about that we've been running for several years. It's called Gaming for Good, or G4G. It's G4G. It's really the future of the charity walkathon. It's a mass participatory event from home where a community can engage a brand through competition. It's a gaming charity competition that literally, with our technology, it's a couple of mouse clicks to create. And the players, they can play literally for basically for free, and they see brand sponsored advertising around the brand. They win branded swag from the nonprofit partner, and all the proceeds, they go to the nonprofit. So an example of this, our first major partner was in 2018. It was Susan G. Komen. You may be familiar with Komen for the Cure if you're here in the United States, but together with Komen, we beat their fundraising goals by 23%. They generated 25,000 new first-time donors, and these new donors, they were much younger demographically than their typical donors. It was this amazing way to engage both their existing audience as well as to bring in new audience to their nonprofit. And if you think about a donor, it's really like a new payer for a business. It's the lifeblood of a charity. So since 2018, we've scaled that effort. Really, it's been quite incredible. And just to give you an idea, during the pandemic, we've had causes raise from tens of thousands of donors and raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, ranging from children's hospitals to Red Cross blood drives during COVID. Actually, more recently, in terms of racial injustice and racial justice causes, we've had the raising for the NAACP with Black Lives Matter movement. It's been an amazing thing, and I think it is really hard to do a lot of the things we used to do physically, and it's a really wonderful thing to have this platform and technology to enable communities.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Okay, this next question would be good either for Asha or for Jason. Online tools seem to suit the technology businesses that develop them and adopt them early. How are tools evolving to suit industries that work in different, particularly where regulation defines workflow? How is regulation impacting you guys right now?
Go ahead, Asha. You can grab it.
I think it goes back to the whole notion of, like, even though we're very online, we're getting more customized and personalized in everything we do. And I talked earlier about open platforms. And with the beauty of open platforms is it's scalable. And when you have horizontal platforms with standards and all, you can customize it based on the regulations of that particular area or that particular community, where they can then develop solutions that meet those regulations. So I think one of the keys is how we design the base.
Great. And there's another question from someone in the stream around hiring. Have any of you changed your hiring practices, or what you're hiring for? How has that been impacted by the crisis?
I think we've all been hiring people over video conference, probably for the first time ever. I think it's made hiring and onboarding employees, I think, a lot more challenging, just because you don't have maybe that in person to get to know them. But we haven't slowed down on our hiring at all. So credit did a lot of the hiring onboarding process and continue to ramp. I'm not saying it's easy. It requires a lot more sort of planning and thinking about those workflows and organization around how you do things. But so far, so good on our side.
And are any of you hiring?
Sorry, I was just going to add. I think that's a great point. First of all, just hiring at all during the pandemic. I mean, you just got to think about that. That concept. And certainly a lot of companies in the technology industry have been fortunate enough to be able to be aggressive and hire and invest. And certainly that's what we've done at Rackspace Technology. We decided to invest during this pandemic to go on the offensive, right, and grow our business. And, I think an important concept is how do you engage and how do you actually get your new employees up to speed after you hire them, right? That first 90 days is critical to retaining your new talent. So what we've done virtual versions of the incredible culture that we have here at Rackspace Technology. We have something called Rookie O, which is rookie orientation, which is a very incredibly fun and thorough way to orient new Rackers to the company. It includes this crazy graduation ceremony at the end, which we're now doing digitally, and really making people feel valued, feel excited about the company, and then keeping that engagement and training all going virtually. Luckily for us, being a digital company anyway, it's worked out well. We're using it as a huge competitive advantage.
We've also seen a pretty incredible results in terms of hiring. It's been actually in some ways very different, but in some ways amazing. We actually onboarded our first CFO as we're IPOing the business right now, and it was funny. We were talking just last night, and he was remarking about he's only met me twice in person physically, and we were talking about how you that camaraderie and that trust and teamwork, and it's just been an amazing experience. I think one thing I would urge any business to do is to run onboarding surveys and to really listen to the feedback. We definitely had a dip in the first kind of 30 days into the pandemic on hiring in terms of our employee engagement and onboarding, but we're very analytical about how we approach kind of every aspect of work. And we're able to, from surveying and understanding the experience of the onboarding classes, really think about how we could tune in and adjust the process. And now our ratings actually, believe it or not, are scarily they're higher than even when we were before the pandemic, which is hard to believe. But I tell you, the data does not lie. It's quite amazing. I miss seeing their faces, though. I miss seeing our people. It was fun.
Carolyn, if I may add also, in addition, I have a big heart that this will really change the way diversity and inclusion is done in companies, because with being remote, there's, you're not like hiring the person who you were golfing with, it's a great equalizer. And for example, we can get talent from HBCUs without mandating that they move to Portland, Oregon, where maybe they don't see as much of themselves.
I agree with that. I think that's a great point. Like, this video conferencing, it democratizes a lot, right? It democratizes meetings. Everybody's got the same size box. Everybody gets equal share of voice, right? And I think that's a fantastic point. I think it really can help diversity and inclusion and lots of employee connection efforts.
Well, as LinkedIn's editor at large, I can't think of a better topic to end on than hiring. So I think that we will conclude there. I want to thank my amazing panelists, Jason, Kevin, Andrew, and Asha, for joining us for this conversation, and for all of you for joining us in the streaming, from Milken for facilitating this. I've learned a lot. I hope that you've learned a lot, and we'll see you next year, hopefully in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.